Hi kids. I paused the video to start again. I don't know if it was getting too long, but we are reading Henry and Mudge by Cynthia Ryland, the first book, and chapter 4 is called Mudge. Mudge loved Henry's room. He loved the dirty socks. He loved the stuffed bear. He loved the fish tank. But mostly he loved Henry's bed. Because in Henry's bed was Henry. Mudge loved to climb into bed with Henry, and he loved to smell him. He smelled his lemon hair. He smelled his milky mouth. He smelled his soapy ears. He smelled his chocolate fingers. Then he put his head by Henry's head. He looked at the fish tank. He looked at the bear. He looked at Henry. And he licked him. And he fell asleep. The next chapter, 5, is called Mudge. Again. Is it again? One day, Mudge took a walk without Henry. The sun was shining, the birds were flying, the grass smelled sweet. Mudge couldn't wait for Henry, so he just left on his own. There he goes. He went down the road, sniffing the bushes. Then he went down another road, and then another road, kicking up the dust. He went through a field, across a stream, into some pine trees. And when he came out on the other side, he was lost. He couldn't smell Henry. Here's Mudge. See Mudge? He couldn't smell Henry. He couldn't smell his front porch. He couldn't smell the street he lived on. Mudge looked all around. He didn't see anything or anyone he knew. He whined a little bit. You know, dog whines like when they're crying. Alone without Henry. Then he lay down, alone without Henry. He missed Henry's bed. Next chapter is called, yep, you guessed it, Henry. Henry thought Mudge would be with him always. He thought Mudge made everything safe. He thought Mudge would never go away. And when Mudge did go away, when Henry called and called, but Mudge didn't come, Henry's heart hurt, and he cried for an hour. But when he finished crying, Henry said, Mudge loves me. He would not leave. He wouldn't leave. He must be lost. How smart, right? So Henry started, he walked and walked, and he called and called, like, Mudge, Mudge. He looked and he looked for his dog, Mudge. He walked down one road, then down another road. The sun shone as Henry ran through a field, calling and calling. The birds flew past, and he stood beside a stream, calling and calling, Mudge, Mudge. And the tears fell again, and he looked at the empty pine trees for his lost dog. Mudge, he called one last time. Then Mudge woke up from his lonely sleep, and Mudge came running. And the last chapter has a different name. It's called Henry and Mudge. Every day when Henry woke up, he saw Mudge's big head. And every day when Mudge woke up, he saw Henry's small face. They ate breakfast at the same time. They ate supper at the same time. And when Henry was at school, Mudge just lay around and waited. Mudge never went for a walk without Henry again. And Henry never worried that Mudge would leave. Because sometimes in their dreams, they saw long, silent roads, big, wide fields, deep streams and pine trees. In those dreams, Mudge was alone and Henry was alone. So when Mudge woke up and he knew Henry was with him, he remembered his dream and he stayed closer. And when Henry woke up, he knew Mudge was with him. He remembered the dream and the looking and the calling and the fear, and he knew he would never lose Mudge again. So boys and girls, this is the first book of this realistic fiction series, and it's how they met each other, right? And after this, Cynthia Ryland wrote many, many, many more. And Henry and Mudge go together on adventures. Sometimes Henry's cousin comes along, Annie. She gets a pet. Sometimes we see Henry's parents, the grandparents. But the main characters are Henry and Mudge. And did you notice something? Does Mudge talk? No, Mudge behaves like a dog, right? So it's realistic fiction. Did you like this book? Bye, thank you for listening.